I always say a libertarian is someone who believes that you own yourself. Your rights come from your humanity, not from the government and somebody writing them down on a piece of paper. I run into very few people that when I'm talking to them about what a libertarian is, nobody ever is like, yeah, but the government definitely, nobody takes the government side, especially nowadays. I don't even run into a Democrat that'll take the government side.
Welcome to the Libertarian Leadership Podcast. My name is Michael Pickens. I'm the host, and today we have an awesome guest. He is running a campaign that is very unique. There's probably a lot more words to describe his campaign, but I'm going to let him do that. Jonathan Realz is an actor, comedian, and political activist running for the U.S. Congress in Alabama's 2nd District. There's also rumors that he might be a rapper as well. So, Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Michael. Yeah, so I think you just nailed it. I'm all of those things in some way, shape, or form. I am running for Alabama's 2nd Congressional District, and I like to say, whenever I describe my campaign, that politics should not be boring. Making the world a better place should be fun.
Yes.
People should be happy to be involved with things, and that's what we're trying to do with my campaign.
Yeah, so one thing that I really saw with you and your campaign is that you took this in a different direction. You took this in a different level than most people. One thing that I really excited about is that I know that politics and running for office is work, right? It's not easy, but if you make it fun, then it does become easy. And that's why I'm wanted to talk to you on here. I feel that if more candidates take your approach, we'd have a lot more libertarians elected. So
I think you're probably right. I do think that there is something, some of the people that got involved very early on were just people that showed up because they heard about something I was doing on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or something like that. They showed up, we met, they had a good time. And they asked me as soon as the event was over, how do I get more involved? How do I do something else? And a lot of those people have in turn, gotten involved with the state party. They're not just working on, helping out my campaign. They're helping out other campaigns. They're involved all over the place because they had a good time. Yep. And I think there is something very important about that. And that's how we can, as libertarians, compete with, the duopoly's money. They can just pay people to be all over the place and do all these jobs that nobody wants to do. Sure. But if we can make it fun for those people to do those jobs, and, if somebody's needs a paycheck, maybe, get them, compensate them for their time. But if we can make it fun, we actually have a shot at doing something.
Yes, absolutely. So I see that there is magic happening in Alabama, some liberty magic, right? There is a record number of candidates that have stepped up and ran for office. Now, taking that step is a big step, right? It's a leap into the public sphere. What is one incident, or is there one incident that pushed you over the edge into running for office, like your aha moment?
So this is my 2nd time running for office.
Okay.
I ran for office for State House back whenever I was living in just across the border here in Georgia. So I'm originally from Donaldsonville, Georgia, which is right across the Chattahoochee River from Dothan, Alabama, which I live outside of now. So I actually lived closer to Dothan whenever I lived on the Georgia side. Anyway, but luckily, when I got involved in the Libertarian Party, right down on Highway 84, there was this really cool guy by the name of John Mons.
Yep.
And I don't know if you're familiar with John Mons, but he is somebody that I learned a lot from. He worked with me on my campaign in 2012. And at that time, it was the Occupy Wall Street and the Tea Party movement. They were both happening around the same time. And I've always been someone who was very much against corporate bailouts and the cronyism and the Federal Reserve. And both of those movements were against both of those things. And all of that was going on. And then you started to see, the police pepper spraying all the college students and all that stuff. And that's whenever I was like, something's happening right now. And I want to be on the front lines. I want to make the world better.
Sure.
So that was the first time I ran for office. then I decided that, while that was great, I don't know if I want to do that again. I absolutely, I really enjoyed it, but you got other things going on in life, and it's like, okay, I think I've checked that off my list. And then I went about my career getting in. I worked in the entertainment industry for years as an actor and all that stuff. And COVID happened, and it shut down the premiere of a movie that I was going to be in. And so now I'm stuck at home and everybody's locked down. And then George Floyd happened. And that was when I was like, you know what? I don't think I think I got another run in me. Something needs to happen. There's a lot going on right now. It was that same kind of feeling, 10 years later, where it's just so much change needs to happen. And I said, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to run for, but I felt like I needed to do something. And I was asked to speak at a rally during the Joe and Spike campaign and be one of the speakers. And they said, people know you, they'll be excited that you're there. I'm like, okay, all right, I'll go. So I did that. And as soon as I walked off the stage, I was grabbed by the current the vice chair of the Libertarian Party of Alabama. And he said, so you're running for office, right? And I said, I've been thinking about it. And he's like, all right, you're running for office. That's happening. So I got kind of pushed into that. So I was the first candidate out of this entire giant slate that we have in Alabama that actually kicked off a campaign and started running. And whenever I got into it, I decided that I would run for Congress because it was the only race that I could get into far enough out to actually build momentum, establish, a platform and a brand and something that people could look at and say, I know this thing and it's making an impact and get attention. Because in Alabama, you can only start for any statewide office, you can only start a campaign about 6 months before the election under Alabama law. So the only thing that I could start a campaign pretty far out and have some lead time was Congress. And I felt like it was a good choice because it allowed me to build some infrastructure. So that way, when other people in my area and in the state could actually start campaigning, there'd be some momentum that I could kind of push their way and do some down ballot support. And I felt like that, win or lose, that's a worthy cause, is to try to lift up some of these candidates all over the state and make a real impact everywhere.
Awesome. Now, running for office can be stressful at times, right? But it can also be very rewarding. What is one skill that you have learned or improved upon through your campaign?
Oh, I'm a very talkative guy. People say I never meet a stranger, but there is even for me, there's some days where you just really don't want to go and talk to people. And there's some days where you really just don't want to do anything political. I can't, some people may not be like that, where every day that's all they eat, sleep, drink, breathe. But some days, I don't want to do that. But I have learned through this run, because it's been so big and we've done so much, that I've learned how to push through that and keep myself focused and motivated towards, the long-term goals. So I think that's probably one of the things that I've improved upon, I think, during all this, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Taking action, even though you don't necessarily feel like it.
Yeah,
at
sure.
the time. Right. So there are probably a few people listening to this interview right now thinking to themselves, maybe I should run for office. What is one positive benefit that you've gained by running?
Well, so I thought a lot about this question. So I think probably the biggest benefit from running for office is, everybody's got an opinion. There's a saying about that somewhere, but everybody's got an opinion. And when you're running for office, it does allow you to not just be the crazy guy in the bar trying to talk to you about, whatever's going on, ending the Fed or anything else. at that point, you're somebody who's running for office. And if you actually know what you're talking about and can package it all together in the right way, people will listen. People will take it seriously, and they will take a moment, and you're not just that crazy guy ranting about the government.
Sure.
And if you can, work at it, it takes talking to a lot of people and hone and craft a message, you can really start to see a change. I have noticed just in my area, because I've been running for almost 2 years now, just in my area, I hear the word libertarian out. I hear the word, people say it. I didn't hear that 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And just imagine if all of the people that are in the liberty movement actually did take that step and jump and run for office. Not everybody's going to be good at it. I don't feel like I'm good at it a lot of times, but having that level of, recognition and people going out and doing the work, you can see it start to shift, a culture, especially even if it's just in just one area, you can see it. And I think that's one of the biggest benefits of running for office that I've seen. Just, that was the coolest thing for me. I came home and I freaked out and was talking to my fiance. Like, the first time I noticed that, like 5 times within the same month, I heard the word libertarian just in normal conversation. I was like, I think we're doing something here. Like, I keep it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's awesome, right? You're making an impact, and because of that, and it's even more exciting hearing that this is actually your second run, right? Because you probably learned a whole lot from the first time you ran for office, right? And now you're able to apply more of that experiential knowledge on your second campaign.
Right. Door knocking was something that I had to learn the first time that I ran for office. I was running in Georgia. They have very strict ballot access laws there as well. I learned after about a month that I was overselling it. So whenever I was knocking on people's doors, getting signatures for a petition to get on the ballot. Now, I was running at that time, there was no Republican, and the Democrat was essentially appointed by the state because they had drawn a district and they gave us somebody on the ballot, and there was not going to be anybody to run against him unless a libertarian ran.
Yeah.
And I realized after about a month of knocking on people's doors that I didn't have to sell them on anything. I'm just the person who's going to let them have an election.
Yeah.
Because without me running, there's not an election. And, but it took me knocking on doors, hundreds of doors, for about a month before I realized, like, oh, okay, all right. You know what? These people are not going to want to talk to you. They don't want to talk to you for 15 minutes outside their door. And if they do, they will absolutely let you know that they want you to stay there.
Yeah.
But that helped me kind of hone that aspect of especially third party politics with petitioning. And that came in handy this time around, because we had to collect a lot of signatures to get these candidates on the ballot here in Alabama.
How many signatures did you need for your campaign to get on?
So we did statewide. So we did the entire state as a slate. And so that was a lot better than me trying to just do my congressional race signatures, which was a quite sizable number.
Gotcha. Yeah, we had Laura Lane on the last episode that we did.
I love Laura.
So I know all of you have done some tremendous work to get on the ballot there.
Some of the coolest stuff that I think that we've done, and there were a lot of people involved from the state party, but because my campaign was the first campaign, happening, we kind of spearheaded a few different things. But in Alabama, and this is some advice that I definitely want other states to pick up on, we started going to things like music festivals and setting up a campaign tent at music festivals. Even if it's just you paying for a tailgating slot, set up, have a good time, meet the people at the festival. You're going to be the only campaign there, and you're going to make an impression that you are a real person. And that makes people very comfortable signing a petition, putting their name on a piece of paperwork. And I wish I had one here with me. I wish I was a little better prepared. If I would have known I was going to tell this story, I would have brought one. But we had koozies made.
Oh, nice.
So we had Jonathan for Congress koozies on one side, and then had the website, and then on the other side it just said "Mind your business." And we can't keep those things. Yeah. Especially with all the festivals and things that we go to. We run through hundreds, if not thousands of those, and people want them. It's gotten to the point where, because we've been doing it for so long, I will see someone at a bar and they will have brought their own koozie, and it's one of mine. They've never met me. They don't know me, but they got it from something that's happened. But
well, it's a great slogan.
Kind of stuff, yeah.
Great slogan.
Well, it was the first national motto. I don't know if you knew
mind your mind your business.
Yep. A lot of people don't know that was the first national motto. I think we need to go back. That should be the motto.
Yeah, absolutely. At the federal level, at the state level, at the county level, city level, mind your business. Having a booth at events, music events specifically, that is a very innovative way. And I haven't seen many campaigns use that strategy. And it's something that I'm actually going to use in my campaign when I run here locally, because I know of a lot of music events here. But that is an awesome strategy to take advantage of, because not only are you reaching new people that may not necessarily be plugged into politics or even care too much, but you're also having a good time.
Right. Yeah. That I think we've done, I don't know, at least 5 music festivals from the campaign, but we've had some other candidates around the state pick up on, the strategy and do it themselves. So we've popped into theirs as well. I think we're actually going to be at one next month.
Nice.
But we do we try to keep things fun. And that's been the whole strategy all along. Like I said at the beginning, politics shouldn't be boring. And the really cool thing is that a lot of times people that throw music festivals and type like concert events, a lot of times it's the same promotion companies, especially in like one area. It's like one company that's throwing it over and over. And we've built relationships with some of these companies, and they, after seeing us around, they're like, so what is a libertarian? And, then you get to talk to them. And that's how we've been able to make some of the contacts with people that are in the industry, where it's like, you know what, who you would get along with, and then they just take you backstage, and now you're having a conversation with somebody that potentially, if you were to bring them into the Liberty movement, would be able to spread the message to a vastly different audience than what I'm able to spread it to.
Absolutely.
So, and I think those are the important types of like long-term strategies that the movement needs to be kind of focused on, is shifting the culture through entertainment as well, because the other parties do, the major parties, they absolutely have an entertainment wing of their party that, and we kind of don't.
Well, that leads me into 2 other questions that I have for you. From what you just said, though, you were asked, what is a libertarian? Well, I've watched a couple of your interviews, and you've done a really good job succinctly defining what a libertarian believes. Would you mind doing that here for us?
Sure. I always say a libertarian is someone who believes that you own yourself. Your rights come from your humanity, not from the government and somebody writing them down on a piece of paper. That's it. That's the whole pitch. That's what a libertarian is.
I really like that. I really like that, because personally, I'm not big into religion, right? And I like that you say that it comes from your humanity, right? Regardless if you believe in this God or that God or no God, like it just comes from our innate humanity.
Right.
That's something that I really appreciate.
Yeah, and I think everybody feels that way. I run into very few people that when I'm talking to them about what a libertarian is, nobody ever is like, yeah, but the government definitely, that's nobody takes the government side, especially nowadays. I don't even run into a Democrat that'll take the government side. Like it's gotten that bad.
Yeah, I think the government, federal government, state governments have overplayed their hands tremendously, and there's going to be a huge shift very quickly.
I think you're absolutely right.
Yep. Now back to the music. you've got something very innovative that you're working on. Would you like to share that?
Oh, well, so this is
So,
not necessarily from my campaign, but it's something that I'm as an artist, I like to dabble in many different realms. Like, you mentioned I've done comedy for years. I got into that as a teenager, and now I've been an actor for many years of my life professionally. And something that I've always dabbled with, but never actually made a leap to get into. I've always enjoyed rap music. I don't necessarily seem like somebody who would be a rapper, but people have told me, I've occasionally they've told me like, oh, you've got some bars, you can do it. So I decided to sit down and actually put together a rap song. And I sampled Spike Cohen. I asked his permission first.
yeah.
I sampled a speech that Spike was giving here in Alabama, and started putting together a hip hop song.
Yeah.
And essentially the goal is to kind of continue some of the stuff that I've always done. That, as an artist, what you believe. Like, libertarianism is not just a political philosophy for me. It's a life philosophy.
Yep.
Like that I think is something that people kind of should take into consideration more. A lot of times is that, like, real libertarianism is about your life as well, helping people, so sorry, got off on a tangent there. So basically my idea is that I'm going to put out a song that has some libertarian messages that are kind of put into it, and use some of the context that I have. And we're going to put out a fun hip hop song that's not in your face and just shove a political message down your throat, but something that has some libertarian undertones, kind of hidden in there.
Yep.
And try to spread the message through fun rather than being preachy.
I did listen to a very rough cut first draft of it. Right, we're not going to play it on the show. We're not going to play it on the show because I want everyone listening to this to check his website, check his social media. When it does come out, you'll be able to listen to it there and see it there. But I'm really excited about it because the ideas of self-ownership, non-aggression, voluntarism need to get out there to as many people as possible. I talk to people on a daily basis, and a lot of them have no idea what these concepts are. And when they hear them, it's like their mind expands, and it's beautiful. So the more we can get it out there, the better. And I appreciate what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate having a moment to talk about it. So this has not been announced too much out there, but Supreme from Wu-Tang Clan is actually going to be one of the guest rappers on this song. And we've got Spike, and there's another libertarian out of Atlanta that's also a rapper. And we hit it off, and he's like, hey, if you ever want me to feature on a track, let me know. I was like, all right, well, I've got one for you. I've got one for you. Yep. And so, yeah, we're going to put together a really fun music video, and we'll have this out sometime in October. And we're expecting to do some big things with it.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And the collaborations definitely lend credibility to what you're doing as well. So hopefully there'll be more of that here in the near future.
I hope so too. I think that, if somebody would have told me, I don't know, at the beginning of the campaign that I would end up in situations where I'm having conversations about, policy with different hip hop artists that would lead me down a road to becoming friends with them. I would not have expected that. That's not typically where politics leads you, or at least, especially not in third party politics. But that, I think, does kind of show how the culture is changing, and it is ripe for a shift.
Yep.
And that shift is towards liberty.
Well, especially in the hip hop community, and the Black community, right? Because they've been oppressed by governments, but it's not just, white people that have oppressed them, right? And getting them to understand that liberty is for everyone and self-ownership applies to everyone. And, white people have been also oppressed by white people, and there are tyrants and authoritarians of every race. And if they can understand that and maybe, apply the Black Lives Matter philosophy towards every race, every creed, and understand that, there can be authoritarians that are Asian, that are South American, look at Cuba. There's tyrants all over the world of every race. And the more that we can stand for self-ownership and the rights of every individual, the better off we're going to be, and the more respect we'll have towards every other person of every race.
Yeah, I was just on a local Black gospel station on, and just they asked me if I would come on and just kind of just sit down in the studio and talk about, you know, what I've got going on, because I was just out and I was having a conversation, and they were like, you know what, you need to come on the radio. And I was like, all right, I'll go on. When do you want me on? They're like, can you be there at 12? And I was like, okay, all right, I'll go.
And you definitely take those opportunities as soon as you can get them. Yeah.
And the first question straight out the gate was, he listed various movements, Black Lives Matter, you know, the people that are, you know, right now, it was right after Roe versus Wade. And he was talking about, just named all these different movements and all these different groups that are upset about various things. And he said that his fear was that only one of those movements is ever going to be successful at a time, that they're going to all kind of suck momentum out of each other and the life out of each other. And he said that, he asked, how would me running for Congress, how would I unite all of that? And I said, well, it's all the same movement. It's all self-ownership. Everything that you just listed is self-ownership.
Yep.
And that gave me an opportunity to talk about that. And what I thought was going to end up being about a 15-20 minute long interview ended up me being on the radio for 2 hours.
Wow.
And having callers and all these other things. And there was no pushback. There was never a moment where I even disagreed with anybody that I talked to. Everybody was on board.
Yeah.
Because everybody is tired of feeling like government property.
Yep. Yeah, that's amazing. I just got chills when you said that, you know, a 15-minute conversation that led into 2 hours, right? And those are the conversations that we need to have. And so when I joined the Libertarian Party, and it was 11 years ago, right? And probably around the same time you joined, you ran for office in 2012. I quickly and immediately understood the need for a long-term vision with short-term goals, right? So I would like to talk to you about, you know, your long-term vision that you have along with some of your short-term goals.
Well, long-term, I want to see, like I said before, I want to see the culture of liberty change. Where I feel like I'm the most useful is in the realm of getting people through fun and entertainment to actually pay attention to liberty, to self-ownership, to freedom. And I think that, you know, short term, you know, I ran for office, I'm still running for office, and I've been able to show that that kind of outreach does work. I would long term like to help other candidates be successful in pulling off some of the same types of things that we were able to do down here in Alabama. Because long-term goal, I want to see the entire culture of liberty change, where it's not so like stuffy and the average person who goes and votes. Well, first of all, the average person doesn't go and vote. So that's a problem. The average person is absolutely disgusted with the government, but they don't go and vote. We need to be the people that can reach those people and get them involved, get them wanting to see the change and actually feel like change is something that can be accomplished. But until we get out of this like mentality where it's like we have to play by the exact rules the way the Republicans and Democrats, this is how they do their campaigns and this is how they do their ads, and we have to emulate them to the T. Well, if what they were doing really resonated with the average voter would show up to vote, but they don't. But there are more people that don't vote than there are people who do vote.
Yeah, that's the thing. If no one on my ballot is worth my vote, I'm not going to show up.
Correct.
And I don't. So.
Right. And so if we can become something that is exposed to, you know, a large audience, and that they can resonate with not just the message, but the fact that we are in fact real people that just want to defend their rights to also be real people. then that's a winning strategy, I think.
Absolutely. So before we wrap it up, I have one more question for you.
Sure.
But I want to ask, how do people find you? Like, what's the best resource? And how can they support you?
So the best place to find me is to go to www.voteforjonathan.com, or you can go over to Facebook and type in Vote for Jonathan there, and boom, magic, I'm right there. And if you don't have Facebook, there's also Twitter, and that one is Jonathan, the number 4, Realz, Realz. That's on Twitter. But yeah, it's pretty easy to find me. Jonathan Realz there's only one of us, and I pop up everywhere. You type in my name, so.
Awesome. And then if you have some extra cash, definitely throw it his way. He's doing some very unique things that need to be supported. And definitely.
You can donate money at www.jonathan.cash. It takes you right there to the donate link.
That's fantastic. Awesome. So Jonathan, last question. In your words, how would you define what it means to be a leader?
So being a leader, it depends on what you're leading, right? Before I answer the question, I'll tell you that I was just with Portia Shepard, who's an amazing candidate here in Alabama. And we were at a water board meeting where it's honestly, the water board people were about to screw over every citizen of that town. And somebody got up and said, listen, you just have to trust leadership.
Oh, no.
And I said to Portia afterwards, I said, yeah, you can trust the leadership all you want, but what if they're going to lead you off a cliff?
Yeah.
So
what if they're leading you to be waterboarded?
Right.
Not good.
So being a leader is not necessarily always a good thing, but to be a leader in a positive sense, if you're going to be a leader in your community, you need to be someone that people automatically know that when something's happening and something needs to be done, or someone, needs help with a certain thing, that you want to be the first person they think of, like, oh, this is the person I need to reach out to. You don't become a leader by just saying, hey, everybody listen to me. I know exactly how to handle this. You become a leader by being involved, and people see that you're involved, and they want you to be involved again, and they trust your judgment. I think that's what it means to be a leader.
There's a big difference between being a leader and being a tyrant, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And if someone's
seems like the guy at the water board meeting was referring to a little bit more of tyranny than leadership.
Good leaders are okay with being questioned, right? Good leaders are definitely okay with being questioned. So is there anything else that you'd like to touch on before we close it up?
No, I don't think so, but I really have enjoyed the conversation. And once again, I'll tell everybody to go to www.jonathan.cash and, send some Federal Reserve notes before they're not worth anything.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jonathan. I wish you the best of luck with your campaign and your music video.
Oh, thanks a lot.
All right, have a good one.
You too.
Thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode. If you liked it, consider heading on over to our Patreon and get set up as one of our official supporters. You'll get a digital copy of my campaign success workbook. You'll get online access to the Libertarian Leadership Academy, and you'll be able to access episodes early, as well as get access to exclusive training webinars and live events when we get those kicked off again. So head on over to patreon.com/LL Academy. Now, if you'd like to support us in other ways, you can share our videos and podcasts with your networks, and you could also purchase products from our sponsor. Do you ever lie awake at night, unable to sleep due to a totally rational fear that your local narcotics task force is going to get the wrong address and perform a 3 a.m. no-knock raid on your home? Yeah, me too, which is why I take Pat Crest Botanicals nighttime sleep gummies. They help me get to sleep at a reasonable hour, and I wake up refreshed and ready to post anti-government memes all day on social media. But seriously, if you'd like to try some of those sleep gummies, head on over to packcrestbotanicals.com and make sure to use discount code LLA to save 30% on your entire purchase.